Thank you. In terms of who's who, I'm Alan, and this is Gloria. And
if you didn't already know.
I'm going to jump right in. I actually started in the game industry in the early 90s at Activision when it was being relaunched in LA. And I came from the film industry. And I've always been interested in how the game industry very powerfully compares itself to the movie industry, how our AAA opening day launches are bigger than the movie industry, just the incredible power, the billions, if not trillions of hours of lean-forward, highly engaged entertainment. But there is one area where I think we're still a little bit different than the movie industry. So I have a couple slides to kind of illustrate this. So the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences, these are the last 5 Best Picture winners. All of these push the art form of cinema forward. But they do more than that. They explore challenging themes. They offer new perspectives to the human condition in the context of great entertainment. Interestingly, when you look at the top 5 game awards from our academy, these are amazing games. They are pushing the art form forward of the game industry. But the theme of this conference is without borders. And I would argue perhaps there are some narrow borders here in terms of the themes that are being explored, the perspectives that are being offered, the unbelievable talent that has gone into these games. You have to wonder if they dove into some of these other themes and challenges that our industry could do, it might be amazing. Now you might say, but there's no money in that. These films have made over $1 billion. So clearly there's an interest in entertainment that is also challenging. You know, sometimes you just want to go out and be entertained, but sometimes you want more. Sometimes you really want to be challenged. You want new perspectives in your entertainment. And so I think the question that we're exploring is, can you make truly great games that offer challenging themes, new perspectives, and make money? We believe the answer is yes, and we've built a company to try to do that. And the sort of secret sauce that we're trying to apply is to bring the world's best game makers with new organizations and folks that are also passionate about great games, about making money, but bring new perspectives. And that's a framing to our partnership. And here's a trailer that will frame how we are working together through a great partner.
So I'm here to tell you a quick backstory of what's inspired this amazing partnership with Eline Media and the co-development and co-creative process of Never Alone. CITC is a tribal nonprofit organization located in Anchorage, Alaska. Our mission is to provide services where our people can connect with their lifelong potential. So our focus is really about the advancement of our Native community. We do this through connecting people to jobs. We do this for helping people find meaningful careers, helping people overcome drugs and alcohol, working with families who are in crisis. And most importantly, we do this through an intentional investment in education. We believe education is the greatest equalizer. We serve about 10 to 12,000 people on an annual basis. And so about 6 or 7 years ago, my board came to me and said, we want to challenge you and challenge ourselves. We want you to create a new model of sustainability for CITC. We do not want to be dependent on the federal and state government. Sustainability and self-sufficiency is a core philosophy of CITC. So as we ask our participants to be self-sufficient, we need to model that as an organization. The board at the same time also said to me, be progressive, stretch yourself, think outside the box. We want you to connect with our young people. We know we live in this modern world. Don't forget who we are, but let's use the tools that we have in this world so that we can continue to preserve our culture. So that was a pretty big challenge. And you know, we had scrimped and saved for a number of years. We had some seed money. And we are an organization that's completely based in our values. It's very important to us. My number one goal was to make money. Number two goal is to make impact, right? And so I thought about what the board had to say. We looked at investments from traditional real estate all the way to funeral homes, if you can believe that. And nothing was quite aligning. And so this idea started to percolate. Why not look at the video gaming industry? And what was so exciting to me about this is that we could bring the assets of our people and our culture into video games, leverage the power of video games, stories that have been core to who we are, how we transfer knowledge and wisdom in our communities over several thousands of years. You know, we live in this amazingly brilliant, beautiful, but harsh climate, and we needed these stories to transfer knowledge and wisdom. But of course, at that point, this was 3 years ago, we knew nothing about the video gaming industry, and we do not work in isolation. So we went out to find a partner who aligned with our values, a partner who was an expert in the field, and a partner who was pushing boundaries and pioneering the field. And through a process of sorting, we came up with Eline Media. And I always love telling this story. I said, if they're willing to come to Alaska in January, I'm willing to have a conversation. And they did. They came January 3rd or 4th. And so that first initial meeting 3 years ago, we just sat and learned about one another. And I knew right away that we probably had the right partners because they were curious about us. They were respectful. We, needed to learn a lot about the video gaming industry. So we just took that time to get to know each other. And what we decided to do was go on a journey of a 3-month intensive, deliberative landscape and opportunity analysis where we could really understand as an organization, was this the right investment for us? And what we quickly found out as we went through that process is there had not been a major investment by Native Americans in the US in this space, that we could actually be a part of making a game differently, that we could have our voice in this process, and it could be a co-development process.
You know, it was interesting. When we flew up to Anchorage, and it was cold, it was a blizzard, it was interesting because our whole management team was men, their whole leadership team were women. I mean, that was just interesting. We came from a very young culture of video games. They came from this incredible, ancient, living culture. And we immediately dove in and really tried to learn about each other's cultures. And what really kind of blew us away about the Cook Inlet Tribal leadership team is they didn't jump in and say, let's just go make a game. They really wanted to understand the sector, the space. And so this 3-month phase was pretty amazing. We actually looked at how indigenous cultures were represented across all media, movies, music, comics, graphic novels. We came up with this rubric, and we realized there's a lot of caricature out there. There's a lot of really awful stuff. There's stuff that's very literal, but often doesn't find a big audience, and that we wanted to get this idea of infusing the culture as appropriate to the medium. Oh, wrong way. And when we looked at things like movies like Whale Rider, amazing movies, very profitable, collectively made, very powerful, world music, But we saw nothing like that in the game industry in terms of representation of indigenous cultures and themes and stories, and yet we saw amazing independent games really transforming the art form of games, and we believed there was an intersection here. So together, we launched Upper One Games.
And this was after about 3 months of getting to know one another, and our first deal was to co-develop and co-create Never Alone together.
So, having been in the game industry for a long time and helped rebuild Activision Studios, I know that game making is a craft. It's not a commodity. The folks that make great games don't grow on trees, and that there's no way we would recommend doing a consumer-facing game without great talent. We were very fortunate that Sean, who I worked with in the early days of Activision, for you guys who've been around for a while, he was the lead designer on Pitfall, My Own Adventure, MechWarrior 2, creative director on Interstate 76. He ran the Tomb Raider franchise. This is a guy who's made a lot of games, has an incredible heart and soul, and when Gloria and her team sent a box of Alaska Native stories and legends and transcribed oral stories, Sean couldn't stop thinking about it. So he built a studio from scratch up in Seattle with industry veterans passionate about this thesis, young talent passionate to change the world, and then Gloria put together an amazing team.
So this was really fun for us. The first trip where we brought Sean and his crew to Anchorage, we set up like a charrette where we had several different meetings with members of the Native community. We brought in our elders. We received permission to move forward. We also brought in young people to talk to young people what kind of stories excite them. And we brought in our great storytellers, our linguists, all of our artists, and we got some amazing feedback. And so what we did is we really tried to take the best of that team and in the beginning pair it with Sean's team. So this is just a clip of behind the scenes with one of our elders, Ron Brower.
Making the video game will be a very important tool, especially in our community where our younger generation are into Xbox. That would be a great way of transferring some of our historic knowledge to the younger generation, because they're hearing bits of our story, bits of the culture that's being passed down to my generation, but that has not bridged over to the younger Xbox generation. I think this would give them an insight as to the way Inuit think. We think quite differently because of our isolation and the kind of beliefs and self-sufficiency that we develop, I think is important. How to be independent and how to think outside of the box kind of a thing, and how to be innovative. If it can do that, then it will have done its job as a video game.
So like I said, the people element was most important, that we get the team right from the beginning. And over the first several months, what we had to do was listen to the community about what not to do. That really helped us create an inclusive development process. We also listened to the community about what stories to tell in the game. And we wanted to avoid some of the pitfalls of the past. This gentleman here is Ishmael Hope. He is an Inupiat and Tlingit storyteller and writer, and he joined Sean and his team early on to help would sort through the stories and to help write the narrative and ensure that we were staying true to the stories. You see here in this photo, this is Dima Verakova. Dima was our amazing artist in the game. Those of you who played Never Alone know that it's beautiful. What I loved about Dima is when we took him to Barrow, he studied the ice, he studied the place. He went down to detail of understanding snow patterns, of really understanding the way that the people and the environment interact. And again, this whole process took a little bit longer, but it was built on true trust and respect. And Alan is going to talk a little bit about the inclusive process.
So this is really the heart and soul of everything that we do, and we've learned in the process. It took a while to build the trust and respect. We had to spend time in each other's environments. That meant we had to go up to Barrow in the middle of winter, which made Anchorage look like Fort Lauderdale. I mean, minus 40 degrees, but it was amazing, stunningly beautiful. We had to align our interests and objectives. We had to get in the same shoes. Financially, creatively, what are we trying to do in terms of money, in terms of impact? We really had to see the world through each other's eyes in a lot of different ways, but also nuts and bolts stuff. How does the green light process? How do we green light stage to stage? How do we resolve conflict? We worked through that, and we worked through it with a methodology that we were really equal stakeholders. And underlying all of it were these themes of interdependence. And the game is about interdependence. The girl and the fox have to work together to solve problems. Interdependence between nature and people, but also interdependence between our two organizations. Resiliency and survival. Anybody who works in the game industry knows you need to be resilient to survive. These are themes that went through everything that we've done.
So we all had to work through a lot of issues, as Alan said, and many of the decision points that where we would struggle, we would literally take back to the community and ask the community for their input and have the community be a part of the decision making. We also had to figure out how we appropriately and respectfully approached Minnie Gray, who you see in this photo, to acquire the rights and have the permission to use the main frame of the game, and the story is called Kanutsayuka, and it's about an endless blizzard, and the young protagonist in the game, Nuna, and her companion Fox have to find the source of this endless blizzard to restore harmony to the community. And Minnie received this story from her father, Robert Cleveland. His Inupiat name is Nazarek. And according to Inupiat protocol, the eldest child receives the story. And she received the story before 1980. And so when we had to sort through US copyright law and all of that, we had to keep both the Inupiat protocol of IP in mind, as well as, you know, the laws that govern us, right? And what this entailed was going to Minnie, actually finding Minnie first, and going to her and her whole family and going through a process of really developing a trusting relationship, where then after she really understood what we were trying to do, she gave us the permission and rights to use this story. So in many ways, we pioneered a new way of making games and figured out how to respectfully and inclusively work with the community. So these are some photos of how artwork inspired, Inupiat artwork inspired the game.
Yeah, one interesting thing about this slide, as Gloria mentioned, Dima Verikova is an absolutely brilliant artist, actually studied indigenous art in Russia, worked on the SOCOM series for many, many years. Before we had him on, we had a bunch of great concept artists, and we were doing Nuna, we were doing concept art for Nuna, and they looked great, but we realized they kind of looked like Disney characters. Not that they were bad, but they just weren't capturing the essence of the culture. When Dima came and really spent time up on the North Slope, spent time at the Smithsonian really having access to the artifacts, working with the artisans, this entire new look emerged. And you can kind of see it through the transition from the artifacts, the palettes, the colors, to sort of the in-game, which was built on Unity, which was a very good platform for us for this game.
What I love about this is that Dima took a form of storytelling. This is how we used to record our stories, is through the art of scrimshaw. and took this and he brought it alive in the game, so that they were very creative, but they stayed true to not only who we are and how we told our stories, but also the way in which we told our stories. And again, this is just the level of detail and how we involve the community. You could see a parkie here, and the trim of the parkie, it's called rickrack, and there's different patterns that reflect different tribes and groups of people. And we wanted to make sure that we got everything right. So what we did is we would go back to the community and really study this in great detail to ensure that not only the place, but the people were represented accurately. The other story I like to tell is, Sean and his team made many games before making Never Alone. And so I think Sean was involved with Tomb Raider, Lara Croft Tomb Raider. So you can understand what he would think of when, doing a female protagonist in a game. And so there were several passes on what Nuna looked like originally. And we kept sending him back and sending him back and saying, no, we want Nuna to look like us. And so that was a great process to go through.
We also had a lot of challenge on Nuna's sidekick, the Arctic fox. Animals represent very different things in cultures. And yet we had to have balance in the gameplay. In terms of Nuna, it would have to feel realistic that Nuna would be with this animal. The animal had to have the right representation. We modeled many different animals. We went through a lot of exploration. And one thing that's really interesting is now that the game is out there, we're being approached by really interesting cultures all over the world, but some of them talk about what the fox represents in their culture, which has been absolutely fascinating how they're mapping that to this game.
Again, here's pictures of Sean Vesey working with Minnie Gray, and of our two Inupiat elders, James Nyagiak and his wife. James is the narrator of the game. We made a decision early on that the game should be in Inupiat and translated into, subtitles. And so I was really proud of the team when they came to that decision on their own.
So the game was launched this past November. We launched it on Xbox One, PS4, PC, Steam. There'll be a bunch more platforms. Watch for announcements to come on that. Gloria mentioned the game is Inupiat. We're very, very proud of that. We did something else in the game that was, we were really a little bit of gun-shy on, which is we shot 40 hours of documentary footage, initially as research, for us to really better understand the culture. But the footage was really powerful. Seeing the elders, seeing the writers, seeing the storytellers, you just couldn't replace that. So we made a decision to cut them up into 26 mini documentaries, which we embedded in the game as unlocks. It doesn't stop the game, you don't have to watch them, but they're there. And we were worried. There's a long history of concern about mixing modalities of video in video games, legitimately. So we were nervous, but these cultural insights, we've been very pleased. They've really been embraced, almost uniformly. They're not perfect, but they're very powerful and really help build out the game. So, we were kind of blown away by the response to the game. We've had over 700, almost every game publication, many mass market, from the New Yorker to the LA Times to USA Today to the Guardian. The game's been debated, discussed all over the world. And it continues to generate academic paper in archaeology journals, in ethnographic journals. We're very pleased that we're on about 50 Best of 2004 game lists, so it was embraced. And it's actually a mix of gamer sites and mass market sites. We've been nominated for a bunch of awards, including a D.I.C.E award tonight, which is very, very exciting and very gratifying, actually, for Sean and Amy in terms of best direction. And we've really been fascinated to watch the YouTube and Twitch TV community playing the game, talking about the game, debating the game, talking about things they don't like, they like, where it's moved. There's a bunch of them where there's a moment in the game that brought some folks to tears on camera, and it's very, very powerful. And in terms of the financial return, the game is selling well. We're in the hundreds of thousands of units. We're very confident it's going to be profitable. It's not like we totally hit it out of the park, but I've been in the game business to know long enough when you have a game when it kind of meets its goals, it's making money, it's the start and not the end of a journey. Many of the best game franchises in the world are built over many years, over many generations, and we are committed to doing that.
So now that we've met our objectives that the board set, make money for CITC's mission and make impact, we're hoping that that money will grow over time, but we cannot even measure the social impact that this game has had for the Inupiat community, the people of the Arctic Northwest, and for Alaskans in general. So we're very excited about it. Since we went through this inclusive development process and we merged our creative and development teams, what we decided to do based upon the CITC board's direction was to take a long-term investment stake in the video gaming industry. So I guess now I'm going to have to really learn a lot about the industry. And what we did is we merged our management teams as well. So CITC owns about 36% of Eline Media, and I serve as their executive chair. Our CFO serves as the Eline CFO. So it's been fabulous to be on this 3-year journey. That's all it's been. It seems like it's just been a ride, but I'm really excited about the future and what we've been able to do in the industry and inspire and create a whole new genre of video games.
So what began as a 2-day consulting in Anchorage is now a merged entity. And I can tell you the whole Eline team has learned, has grown through this merger, and it's just been exhilarating. It makes it great to get up in the morning and go to work. Never Alone is just the beginning. Since we launched the game, we've been approached by cultures all over the world, indigenous, underrepresented cultures in popular media saying, would you come and do this with us? Would you help us take our stories and have them survive another 1,000 years through video games or through interactive entertainment? And we're processing it, we're listening, we're traveling around the world, we're talking to these folks. Also, we've been approached by game development teams saying, hey, I'd love to do something like this. If you have a project, could we talk? So we believe there's incredible potential. It's not simple. I mean, this was a 2+ year journey through that inclusive development, but we are committed to doing much more than Never Alone. Much like world music is an entire genre, we believe world games can be an entire genre. And we don't think it's just world games. If you go back to those movies and other games in the game industry, there's so many themes that can be explored through games, so many perspectives to bring to great commercial games. We really want to expand our portfolio. We're committed to expanding our portfolio. And we feel like we're in good company. There are folks all over the world starting to do this. These are 4 recent games that we're big fans of. This War of Mine, Gone Home, Valiant Hearts, Papers, Please. These games explore very, very challenging topics. And they do it with great artistry and great craft. And you know something? They're all selling units as well. So we think this is just scratching the surface of where we can go in the industry. So we encourage anybody who likes this thesis to come talk to us. Either we work together, we help each other out. You know, let's help urge more of these games into existence. Let's have a lot of fun doing it, and let's make money.
And you know, I've learned so much going through this process, but I guess the most significant lesson that I've learned is that anything's possible in the world, and that's what I love about the gaming industry, is that anything is possible in the gaming industry. It's really boundless. And you know, I also learned this great value of which the elders have always told me is believe in yourself. So we believed in who we are as people. We brought our story to the world, and a global audience is responding. So I just appreciate all the good work that you do in this industry, and really excited to join you as well. You done?
I think we're 1 minute under budget.
Quiana,
So,
that means.
thank you very much. Thank you very much.
So you'll have to start, you know, learning this language. Quiana means thank you.
Thank you very much.